if you're taking out a 40-year loan right now, it helps to lower your monthly payment, but in
On
the
the front end, but
on
on
the
the back
front end,
end.
on the front end of things, it helps you.
Correct.
Remember, these loans are not backed by FHA, so it's not government insured.
Welcome back, everyone, to It Starts Now, the happy hour of finance and business. My name is Stanley, and once again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I have a special guest today that I'm so excited about. Her name is Sara Golan, and Sara's going to touch in a lot of her background, but we're going to dive in on all sorts of things when it comes to real estate. And I'm so pleased to have her today. You have no idea, for you guys that's listening on the audio, you're going to have a treat today because we're going to touch on all the topics as far as getting the market, how's the market doing, and tons of things. So please welcome Sara Golan. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley, for having me.
So Sara, you know I'm so excited because real estate is one of those things that you can make money. I don't want to say that it's like something that you could have just sitting there and not take advantage of, right? Because you still got to put some kind of work into it. So when people say passive income, I always think that real estate is a great passive income, but at the same time, you still got to put in some work, especially when it comes to real estate.
Right. I think if you're looking at it from an investment point, then yes, you can find a property in a distressed state, invest some dollars into renovation so you can bring up the rents to market value, and then it becomes a source of passive income. But I think throughout the process, you also have to learn how to be a landlord because you're dealing with tenants, you're collecting rents, you have to maintain that building. So hiring a super, it becomes like an entire company,
like a full-time
like a
job.
micro company that you're
Right.
running when you're buying an investment property.
Now, how long you been doing this for?
I've been in real estate, believe it or not, over 20 years, in a multifaceted way.
Okay.
So at 19 years old, I was working for a developer in Queens, New York, and they also had their own sales team. So I was on the back end of things. I was an assistant, but throughout that period at that job, I was able to learn the processes of real estate from construction to sales to management.
And during that time, like, what's some of the things that you came across that you learned on your own and you took advantage of? Like, did you dive in and say, I want to do real estate full time, I want to invest in some properties?
So my husband and I, we've owned our own real estate company and investment company. So we would buy properties, renovate them, and resell them, flip properties. And we did that for a long time in Long Island and Queens. So in terms of knowing what goes on into acquiring and renovating a property, I had a solid background in that. Sales, that's something that I kind of jumped into on my own.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why I did that. We opened an office in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and we were hiring sales agents. And being a business owner, the wife of the business owner, who's the broker, I was in charge of making sure the leads that we're buying, Zillow leads we were buying and giving to our agents, and they would not convert these leads into real sales. So we would have lists and lists of buyers that were still searching, but our agents weren't able to sell to them. So I picked up all those cold leads and I started calling one by one. Hey, you reached out, you're looking for a property to buy. We have a new list of homes. When are you available to meet?
Right.
And I would book those appointments, bring them into our office, and then give those appointments back to those agents that weren't able to book the appointments on the phone. And it became a point where, okay, I'm doing that. I have the ability to bring in traffic and bring those clients back. And I'm giving them. And then, I said, something just kind of clicked. Like, if I'm bringing in those buyers, like, why not take them out? I know the properties that we have. I've seen them.
Okay.
I could show you a home if, we wanted to tour a property. and I started just taking them out on those appointments on my own. And I said to my husband, like, I'm not going to bother you. This is something I'm going to try. I'm going to know if it's for me. And I just took it from there, got my real estate license, and I started doing my own business as an agent. And that's how I started real estate.
We got to drink to that.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, we definitely got to drink to that.
cheers.
Wow. That's pretty impressive. That's a good resume to start out with.
Yeah, you just have to jump right in. Sales is not for everyone.
No.
You have to bring a certain level of energy. You always have to know how to read people when you're meeting them. Knowing the knowledge of the market, what to show them, how to run their finances, qualify them for a mortgage. I also have a mortgage background, so that also helped me in sales when they had questions regarding mortgages and the entire process of getting a loan straight through closing.
So you can walk somebody all the way through the whole entire process.
I'm also a homeowner, and we've bought properties, so it's just like all that background experience came into play in sales.
And it brought you to this point right now.
Exactly.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Now, if I want to get in the market, because I think that's the crucial question right now, because the market is so busy, right? So if I wanted to jump into the market, what would you say, what advice would you give?
Make sure you save up a lot of money, because prices, for example, in our market in Brooklyn, prices have gone up. There's stiff competition. I would say you have to have your finances in order. That would be key, because as soon as you find that property, you want to start placing offers, and it's very, very competitive. So you have to have your finances before you start shopping for a property.
Especially right now, we've seen properties where the offers, you have like 20 or 30 offers. I may be exaggerating, but I know there's times where we called up and it's like 13 offers, 14 offers on a property.
Yeah.
What do you think is driving that?
I think there's a demand for people to upgrade their spaces, especially after the pandemic. Being at home for a year with your family in a confined space and working remotely, you need to have a backyard. You need to have an extra bedroom that you're going to convert to your home office, because majority of the time during that past year you work from home. Also, families have been homeschooling their kids, so you want to create a space for your kids to be online on their computer. I know in my home office, I converted that into my daughter's study space. I have 2 teenagers, they're in high school, and so my son, he had his own setup in his room, but my home office became my daughter's workspace. Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
If, let's say, for example, right now, you're selling a dream, right? Because that's what it is, basically. People want to have their own space, have their own personal environment where they're not too attached to everybody. What big difference have you seen between when the pandemic first hit versus the market now?
Well, when the pandemic hit, okay, let's go back.
Okay.
Before the pandemic, 2020, January, started out really strong in real estate.
Why is that?
You know,
because there was a lot of panic during that time.
There was a lot of panic, and I'll tell you why. We were coming out towards the end of a presidency, so a lot of people pulled back from the market. So remember, we're going into the new Biden administration. Everybody was just like hating on Trump and couldn't wait for him to get out of office, and they kind of like held back. I've seen that happen in real estate, because it's always a cycle when there's a new president coming into office. It creates an uncertainty, like what are their policies and how will it change for real estate.
Right.
But I think in general, though, everyone always needs space. So real estate, it just depends on, are they willing to pull the trigger and buy now or just wait? Also, interest rates. There is the possibility of interest rates going up, but it's still relatively low right now.
Right.
So it's cheaper to borrow money, and why not do it now? Especially over the past few months, interest rates did creep up a little bit more. But overall, it's still affordable. If you've saved up money, and you can afford to get in the market, this is the time to do it.
Do you think that 40-year loan thing is, now that they brought it back, you think that's going to make a big difference?
That's a little bit scary, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
40-year loan became a thing, I want to say, after the recession, because people who were behind their mortgages were able to modify their loan and extend the period on their mortgage. So instead of a 30-year mortgage, they went to a 40-year. And that was just to make their home more affordable. Not the home affordable, payments, their monthly payments. So if you're out of a job, this was a way for you to kind of catch up.
Correct.
Okay. If you're taking out a 40-year loan right now, it helps to lower your monthly payment, but
On the front end. But
on the
back
front end, on the front end of things, it helps you.
Correct.
Remember, these loans are not backed by FHA, so it's not government insured.
Oh.
So there's a whole different set of criterias that you have to meet, and lenders are tightening up their guidelines and their lending. What's the word? I want to say. The criteria is just much stricter. It's stricter guidelines. That's what I was trying to get out. And so, it's going to save you on your monthly payment, but long term, you're paying more in interest. You're also building equity at a much slower pace, because if you want to refinance, let's say 5 years into that loan, you're not going to be able to cash out money that you would want to use for another investment.
Right.
So you just have to, it's just a longer period to wait on that. So I would say if you're able to afford a 30-year fixed mortgage at an interest rate of 3.25%, go ahead and do that. I think if you just want to, you have the money, you qualify for a 40-year, and you want to do something else with that money and still have a lower payment, but in a few years you know you have money coming in that you can still pay off that loan faster, then go ahead and do it.
Okay.
It's all about your finances.
It's all okay. Now back to the question I had asked earlier, and I cut you off, and I apologize for that. The market, from my understanding, because I had a friend that had a building out in the Lower East Side, and at one point people were leaving the city, right, and then all of a sudden everybody. He said he didn't have everything was vacant. He had a whole bunch of vacancies. Now he looked around, everybody's moving back to the city. Is that the case? Do you feel that the market is changing in New York?
New York City is not dead. Let me just start by saying that. So all the naysayers that came out, we were running away from the city, they were probably not New Yorkers in the first place. There's nothing like the energy here. And this is why so many foreign investors come to New York City, because they know the value will be there. I want to say, now that we have a vaccine out, if you go into Manhattan, it's like nothing ever happened. Streets are packed, and it's actually nice to have all the restaurants serving outdoors now.
Right.
It kind of feels like you're on vacation,
feels
sitting
like South Beach.
Yeah, exactly. It brings a whole new vibe to New York City, and I think it's gonna stay. A lot of people have come back to the city. You know, it's still a great place to work, to enjoy culture, to live, and it has great restaurants, great nightlife, theater, arts. There's no place like New York City. So I would say come back, buy properties. Brooklyn is booming right now with construction.
Now, I'm glad you touched on that with Brooklyn, because Brooklyn right now is like a high commodity area. Everybody's trying to, the companies are coming in. You have the stadium, who just acquired a few major players that's bringing attraction into the city. Do you think Brooklyn is still affordable, or places anywhere in New York is still affordable?
Yes.
Okay.
I think you just have to go more on the outskirts of Brooklyn. So if you're going into South Brooklyn, you can find properties that are still in the 600, 700 price range for one family. If you're going into East New York, it's still affordable. I think if you're looking for Williamsburg, if you're looking for Carroll Gardens, Boerum Hill, Brooklyn Heights, most people are priced out of these neighborhoods. But we have to look at Brooklyn in totality, because it's still the number 4th largest city. Brooklyn is a city in the United States. And the fact that you have Brooklyn developing at such a fast pace, it's going to rival Manhattan, I feel, in the years to come. We have towering
that's a big claim right
our
there.
skyscrapers now are going to rival Manhattan. Yeah.
Wow.
Just look at Brooklyn Point, Coy Tower, 11 Hoyt. These are
True.
buildings that have
True.
amenities. Like once you cross that bridge into Brooklyn, you're never going back to Manhattan in terms of affordability comparable to Manhattan, and also what you get: more sky, more space, green spaces, Prospect Park. You have that's
true.
yours. It's not Central Park, but at the same time, again, big open green spaces, brownstones. I sell in Bed-Stuy. No one's building brownstones anymore.
Right.
To buy a property that's over 100 years old and it has all modern amenities, like why not? If you can afford it, you have the history there. Like buy into Brooklyn. Yeah.
When you say the outskirts of Brooklyn, what area specifically for you that stands out to purchase?
To purchase, if you can get into Prospect, Lefferts Gardens, that's one of the neighborhoods that I've talked about for years, because it's this little pocket that's close to Prospect Park. You can still find a two-family townhouse or a lot of condos that are being built out there, co-ops. It's just a nice little pocket of Brooklyn. East New York, with all the rezoning that has happened, you will have more residential homes coming to that area, and it's still relatively under $1 million. So for a family with an income of, I want to say, $150,000, you can still find something very decent in East New York. Cypress Hills also. Yeah.
East New York has a lot of like 4 units and higher. And I the big thing right now for everyone is like get a 4 unit, get a FHA loan, and rent it out, and then house hack. That's the biggest thing right now.
Yes.
Do you still think that's something that's possible?
Oh, 100%, because FHA limits now on a 4-family, it's about 1.5 million. So if you're gonna buy a house 1.5 and you're gonna live, let's say you make first floor and a basement as a duplex apartment, you have the backyard, and then you have rental income helping you with your mortgage, and long term you're still building equity, that's a win-win for you. Because that's also an investment that if you were to move out of East New York, it's an income for you to contribute towards your future mortgage on, let's say, your 1-family, if you move to the suburbs or just a quieter area.
Right, and it's still, the property value is still going up.
It's still going up. So it's a great way to get into the market. If you have money saved up, and if you're getting an FHA loan just 3.5% down, why wouldn't you buy an investment property with just 3.5% down as a first-time buyer?
I agree. The only thing for me with the FHA loans is a lot of restrictions, unless you house hacking, right? Because then that kind of cut the red tape, because now you're there.
Yeah.
But for me, a conventional loan is always a good thing. But can you break down why is the FHA loan or conventional loan, in your opinion, whichever one would you consider the best one if you are a first-time home buyer?
As a first-time home buyer, FHA works because, again, it's less money out of pocket. And it's also a lower, if your credit score is, I want to say, in mid 500 to mid 600 score, so let's 550 to 650, you can get an FHA mortgage. You may not qualify for a conventional loan because they require a higher credit score and a higher down payment.
Right.
So I think if you are able, as a first-time buyer, go for an FHA loan. Yeah.
Okay. And on a conventional loan, they don't have those kind of programs for like first-time home buyers?
Not really. I think conventional loans, your credit have to be really, really strong, and you also have to have a higher income bracket.
Okay.
So these are the 3 things. So it's your down payment, it's your income, and your credit score. These are the 3 factors that determine what you qualify for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're famous for getting Angela Lee her.
Angela Yee, it's such a funny story. I met Angela 8 years ago when she was searching for her first brownstone in Brooklyn.
Right.
And she shopped with a lot of brokers, and they were always trying to like push her towards a house. And when Angela came in, first of all, I had no idea who Angela was. I don't really listen to the radio unless I'm like driving in or something. But I didn't like. I'm not the one that would like, oh, I'm gonna Google everybody that comes into my office, because then you kind of, I feel it just biases the relationship and the service that you provide to people. For me, if you come to me, it's the same service across the board.
Right.
And I'm gonna give you my opinions, and I'm not gonna hold back, and I'm gonna tell you like what's the way I look at sales when I'm working with a buyer. I'm moving in with you, so it has to meet my standards. If I'm able to live there with my kids and my family, then I would say yes, go for it. So I'm looking as a homeowner for my buyers. That's what I'm looking for. It has to meet my criteria as a homeowner before I could say I'm confident that I can sell this and my buyer would be happy. The main thing is that you're providing a service and you want to make people happy. It is one of the biggest investments that they're going to make, and you want to make sure that you're part of that process and giving the right advice. So with Angela, I didn't push her towards any home, and I said to her, and she'll tell you today, Sarah told me that it doesn't matter if we shop for 2 years, we're going to find the right one. And thankfully, we didn't have to shop for 2 years. What I showed her was a brownstone that was off market, and I knew the developer who was doing it, so I was aware of the quality of the work. And when I showed her her property, it was just a fully gutted, like stripped down to the walls, where you saw just 4 walls, you saw the sky, and then straight down to the basement, so nothing was built. And I had to kind of show her and guide her, like, okay, Angela, this is where the kitchen is going to be, this is where the bathroom is going to be.
Oh, so you gave her the blueprint.
I gave her the vision of what I sold her a vision of what the property was going to be, and it took a process of 9 months, and I helped to shop for kitchens and finishes, all of that with her, and so we just had a nice time during that process. And the price that she locked in, by the time she closed, the market had already gone up about $200,000-$300,000. And the developer was like, hey, Sarah, I can get more now for this problem. I'm like, no. That's not going to happen, not for my client, you know. And we kind of developed a friendship after that. We stayed in touch. And a lot of my buyers, I would say, have had a great experience. And they became friends after that.
That's good. That's amazing.
I love buyers. I love working with buyers.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And I also one more. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and with buyers, if you end up giving that service, they're always gonna think of you and refer their friends or their family. So I think it's a business that you have to think about future business, because it does come back to you.
I think anything that you're gonna do, you have to put in the focal point on customer experience. Yeah. You have to focus on the customer and what the customer's reaction is going to be, whether they're going to like this. I like how you put people in your shoes with your standards. That way, you know, if I like this, I'm pretty sure my client is going to like this. I'm just not going to sell somebody a lemon and nothing is working or nothing is right from the inside. But I do appreciate that coming from customer service. But only that, we love the fact that incorporating customer experience is a great thing in any business. If you want to excel, because you want to have referrals, you want people to talk highly about you, you want reviews, you want all these good things, and I think those things come along when you help the customer first and you put the customer first.
Always.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Now, we're both from Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Right. I'm from East New York, and you're from.
I'm originally from Guyana, and I always have to say that because I'm an immigrant. At the end of the day, I came from a third world country, and my parents worked really hard, and I was raised in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Okay. So after migrating to the States, landed in Brooklyn, Bushwick, Brooklyn. That's where I got my roots in New York.
And at what age did you come here?
I was 11 years old.
11 years old, and how long did you stay in Brooklyn?
I stayed until I was 18, so after I graduated high school, I went to school at Long Island University in Brooklyn, downtown, and then moved out of Brooklyn into Queens.
Okay.
And finished up my bachelor's at Queens College. So, CUNY student. Not private Ivy League. CUNY. I always advocate for CUNY.
Oh, that's a good.
Yeah.
You know, that's good, because a lot of people from that. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but majority of us came from CUNY colleges as well too. So, and we don't really advocate that as much as we would like.
Yeah.
You know, because
no, it's an affordable way of achieving and your higher education. It's just more affordable, and you're still getting. I felt at Queens College I got a solid college experience, and I wouldn't say, you know, if you're going away to college and staying in another town or city. For me, it was working 9 to 5 and going to school to make sure that I'm able to pay my way through college. So I worked throughout college.
That's good. Yeah. Now let's go back to Bushwick.
Okay.
Because you've seen a lot of changes.
Yes.
A lot of changes.
A lot of
right
change.
now,
Changes.
Bushwick is looking like downtown Brooklyn.
Bushwick is looking more like Williamsburg, I feel, with all the condominiums that are being built over there. Yeah, it is. It's a lot of developments.
In the back end, I was like Evergreen. I think we were driving to go to the BQE, and I think they got a hotel there. And it's there's a lot of things that's happening.
There's a lot of things, cool restaurants. Like, it's just a lot of artists have moved into Bushwick. So
really?
that's a place.
We should
a lot of street
advantage.
art. Yeah, that's your little art enclave. I would say Bushwick.
Yeah, because right now, I don't know if, for me, in East New York was rough when I grew up. I don't know how it was with Bushwick.
I never said I was from Bushwick.
Okay.
When I would visit friends in Queens. It was just like, yeah, I'm from the Ridgewood, Bushwick neighborhood.
So you would say the Queens side.
So like hinting like I'm more from the Queens side of Bushwick, which is, you know, not as rough as Bushwick. So yeah, it's like, but now when you mention Bushwick, like, oh, I know Bushwick. I'm gonna go hang out there.
Proud.
I'm gonna go hang out there and eat pizza at Roberta's, and like, yeah, Bushwick is a place. I'm very proud of Bushwick.
Okay.
And for me, going back to work in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it's a blessing. It's just like everything coming full circle to be an owner of a business in Bushwick. When I was growing up, no opportunities. It was just all this like violence and chaos. You talk to people that are like, hey, do you know who the Latin Kings are? Like, yes, that was a real gang in the 90s running Bushwick and all of these neighborhoods.
I think they're still around.
I'm sure they're still around, but I don't think my kids know about these things.
True.
Yeah.
And being raised in that area during that time, did you think that you were going to do this?
No, real estate was never in the plan. I think when I was at Long Island University, I saw myself, I wanted to be a pharmacist. And then, you know, you kind of like your mind changes as you grow as a person. And when you're young and you don't have that guidance, you kind of like jump around in things. But I will say that again, back to the college experience, I was working in a real estate office. I was working in a mortgage bank. I worked in Lake Success for 5 years in a mortgage bank on the closing side. So I think having the experience in real estate and having the experience in mortgages, I still didn't think of it like this is a career. It was just like something I'm doing to pay my college, right? But it's always felt natural to me. I also wanted to become a lawyer when I was in Queens College, so the next step was finish my bachelor's and go to law school. That didn't happen because I got married and, you know, we started a family right away. Yeah.
That's you know what's incredible about the story is because a lot of people feel that they need to know their future, or they need to know the path that they're on, not realizing that the path can change. And it's proven with you that the path changed twice. You wanted to be a pharmacist, then you turn around, wanted to be a lawyer, and now you found your comfort, which was always there, because you said it became so easy
Yeah.
and it was natural, and you found yourself leaping every time, right? Because you took a leap when you started making those calls from the lead calls,
Oh yeah.
right? So everything you were leaping in because it probably felt so natural. Would you agree?
I would definitely, and again, I went into it with the mindset of, hey, it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'll move on to something else. That's it. And I will say that when you are putting your energy into a commission-based business, you cannot go in thinking about the money. Because if you do, it will hold you back. Because if that first month goes by, you didn't make a sale, you don't have a client that you're working with, how do you go into your second month? How do you go into your third? How do you go into it a year after? If you're thinking, oh my goodness, no one's giving me a paycheck at the end of the week. So once you really get into it and you pour so much time and effort into it and you start to see results and almost becomes a repetition of it, and then you go and you teach it to someone else, and all of a sudden you're starting from one person, you're growing a team. I now have a team of 10 in Brooklyn. So I've been in the management part of it where I'm able to train salespeople to also start their own businesses that way. Yeah. So that's rewarding, to be able to know that you made something, made it work for you, but you can make it work for others.
And then you
and help them.
right,
helping them along the way.
And everybody benefits. It's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm.
But in that scenario where you said that, I'll try something. If it doesn't work, then I'll move on to the next thing. Do you have a timeline in your head? Do you say, okay, if 6 months I don't see anything, I'm gonna be out of here? Like, how does it work
timeline?
How do you know when something is not working for you and try something else?
I give it. I'm always the kind of I'm so, I want to say, dedicated. So I would still continue it, but I would say 6 months, 9 months, then I know okay, I'm gonna move on. Most people have said that, hey, if you're not, I remember this one developer that I called to ask him if a property was available. He's like, listen, and it was so rude, but I still remember those words. He's like, listen, honey, if you're not making $100,000 a year, you need to come see me. And I was like, no, it was, first of all, it was just a gross way to speak to women. But it kind of made that my goal, that I have to, this is what you have to make. And I had no idea. But I will say that within my first year, I did well above that.
Right.
So it wasn't pat myself on the back. It's there's no limit to this.
Right,
you can
right.
do more than that, So don't just limit yourself. That's the good part about being in a commission-based business.
Well,
and being you're an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Right. So you said earlier, and then we were having this conversation offline, and I mentioned that commission-based, no matter what it is, I still consider it to be entrepreneurship, because you're still working for yourself, the energy. And you said something that was crucial. You said you catch what you eat, right? So it's all about the energy you put out there and the effort that you put in.
You eat what you kill.
You eat what you kill. That was the phrase. Yeah, you eat what you kill. Thank you for correcting me on that one. But the good thing about that statement is so true, because even in commission-based, you're still an entrepreneur. If you don't go out there and hustle for yourself, you won't get anything back.
I take Saturdays as my day off, and I'm here with you
on
a Saturday. My days start somewhere around 6:30 in the morning, and it doesn't end until 1 o'clock the next morning.
Wait, so you only sleep 3-4 hours?
I'm good with 4 or 5 hours a night, because it's not just the work. I also have a family. I also have a husband. So when I come home, it's my second job starts. And then I catch up on emails, and before you know it, the whole day has gone by. And so I spend Saturdays with the family to catch up, to see what they're doing. And so when you're an entrepreneur, no one factors into the hours you put in. It's not just energy, it's a lot of hours. Yeah.
And how do you make it work? Because your husband is
He's a broker. He has his own team.
Correct.
We talk a lot about real estate. We were managing brokers for Ryan Serhan's office. So Ryan is from Million Dollar Listing New York. We met. We had a great relationship. We became his managers in his Brooklyn office. So it was my husband and I, and working with as a team when you're husband and wife, it can get really tricky. But now we work in separate companies. So I stayed with NestSeekers after Ryan opened his own business, and my husband went to Compass, and he started his own team. So it was kind of a way of not communicating and tying our schedules together. You know, you have to be at the meeting for the same things and for the team. Now you do yours, I'm doing mine. When we come home, we're coming to our home and not talk about the business or the agents or anything else. Yeah. So it was a nice little break. It's a nice little gap.
Exactly. But at the same token, wouldn't you say the convenience of having, being together in the same, which I agree with the gap, by the way. I think it's something that you have to have.
We've worked for over 20 years together, owning our business.
But doesn't that keep the communication line open? And at the same time, like if he makes it to one meeting, that means you don't have to. You can focus on something else.
No, when it's team, you both have to show up.
Okay.
And we've balanced it for many, many years. And I also feel like it's a change. It helps him to grow and myself. Like we could go in different directions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you see the benefits on both sides, or you see there's a slight edge on one?
Not necessarily. I wouldn't go and pitch the same business that he's pitching. So we're able to tackle different neighborhoods, different markets. So I see that as the benefit.
Okay, that's good. Oh, so you just divide and conquer.
Yeah, that's what everybody has said. Oh, so you're dividing and conquering.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
No, that's good. Yeah. But it's still around the same business, so.
Yeah, and the respect is still there, and the fact that he's been a broker longer than I have, or in sales, like I feel that I still have someone that will understand that I could go to for advice. Because I don't think there's any deal that we haven't done that we can not share advice on. Yeah. And
has he helped you out recently or anything? Or
I said, I went into the business.
Okay.
I'm not going to bother you. I'm going to try to do this on my own. And if it works, it works. If not, it's fine.
Yeah, but at least you have somebody you can lean on, which is a great thing.
Exactly.
Right. This has been wonderful. I just want to share one thing. You have a great thing going on. You have a great team member, which really connect us together.
Yes.
And this has been an awesome conversation. I would like to shout out Danny for making this happen. But at the same token, it's like you cultivated a nice team. Right? So when you're looking for team members, how do you go about it? What are you looking for specifically?
We sell energy. That's the way I look at it. So when I'm looking for new agents and talent, it's all about the energy that they bring to the team. Because if you have someone who's coming in with negative energy, they're just going to kill the vibe for the entire team the minute they walk in, complaining about, oh, this client is blah, 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 or, just bringing everyone down. So I try to make sure everyone's energy is the same and they can learn and grow with each other. So, yeah, I think it's all about the energy. And Danny has great energy. He's willing to learn. He comes in, he does his work. He's out there building relationships. So he's one to really look for. And again, you just need the right guidance as well. So I'm always there for them.
And the leadership style, where did that come from? How did you develop it?
I am the oldest girl in my family. My mom's a teacher, retired school teacher. And she always leaned on me to step up and be the head. Like, you're the example. Like, oh my goodness, being the oldest, there's just an expectation there that you have to set the example for the younger ones. and that's always been on my shoulder, you know, for my younger siblings. And I think that's where the leadership, it's been instilled for years. And I think if you ask my mom, she will tell you, she doesn't think like, she'll always say like, yeah, you were a child, but you were like a mini adult. Yeah. So there's always that role that you feel like you're always responsible for everyone else, and you want to see them grow and do well.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hey, where can they meet you?
They can reach me at NestSeekers. My email, it's sarag@nestseekers.com. I'm also on Instagram at Mrs. Golan. And I'm in Brooklyn all day long, 6 days a week. Yeah, but I'm based in Bed-Stuy at 326 Tompkins Avenue in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
yeah.
And Brooklyn is back, baby.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that.
It was always there.
That's true, too.
Yeah.
Okay, this has been wonderful. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was our pleasure. Trust me. I was so excited when you agreed to come on the show, and there were so many questions that I wanted to ask you, but you basically answered most of them all in one shot, which I thought that was incredible because your anticipation for what you think somebody else would want to know, you already had that clear. So this has been an awesome interview, and I just want to say thank you.
I appreciate you having me here. I had a really great time. This was fun.
Yes.
And next time we'll get Daniel in here.
Yeah, next time we're going to get Danny in here.
Yes.
And this one is pretty good.
It's grapefruit.
It's grapefruit, but it's not bad. I thought it was gonna be sweet. I was like,
as long as it has grapefruit, it's a healthy wine. I'm like, oh, cool, let's do this. Grapes and grapefruit. So
all right.
Good.
Well, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. To the people that was listening on the audio, we truly appreciate you guys as always, and thank you so much for always tuning in. Good night.